Hello. Today we're taking a look at Judge Brett Kavanaugh, also known as the Forrest Gump of conservative America. Judge Kavanaugh appears at most major events throughout American history. He was in the White House when the dreadful 9/11 attack happened. He played a pivotal role in the impeachment of President Clinton and the disputed US election between Al Gore and George W. Bush. Now he's back, this time as Donald Trump's pick for Supreme Court Justice. Following this announcement, there have been fears that this nomination, or should I say Kavanaugh's appointment, will push the Supreme Court further to the right and undo decades of liberal reform. Well, to find out if these fears are justified, this lobbyist is going to be taking a closer look at Judge Brett Kavanaugh, his childhood, what he was like growing up, and of course, his professional experience as an officer of the court. Born in the suburbs of Washington, he had a very conservative upbringing. His parents, professionally connected Republican Catholics. His mother was a state judge, and his father a lobbyist. No, not this lobbyist, a political one, with a much higher monthly salary. He attended Yale as an undergraduate, and then later a law school student. Academically, he was nothing special, but he did stand out for his political views. A well-known conservative is how one source described him. After graduating, Kavanaugh went on to work for Justice Kennedy, the very judge who he is now poised to replace. He also spent time working under independent prosecutor Ken Starr. Actually, it was under Starr's employment that Kavanaugh began his rise to fame. He took the lead role in drafting the Starr Report, urging the prosecution to take a hard line and to ask sexually explicit questions about Bill Clinton's affair with Monica Lewinsky. The Starr Report made Brett Kavanaugh, well, a star. Bill Clinton, however, wasn't as fortunate. With his legal talents recognized, he was poached by President Bush. And after working for the Bush administration for 5 years, his loyalty was rewarded. This time, with a nomination from the president for a place on the judge's bench in the DC Court of Appeals. Now, many people at the time saw this as a contentious nomination. Democrats saw him as being too partisan. If we fast forward to 2018, Brett Kavanaugh still faces the same pushback. His conservative voting record has made him an enemy of liberal America. Linus Wallenstein from the Leadership Conference on Human and Civil Rights sees Kavanaugh as a threat to reproductive rights, healthcare, voting rights, disability rights, immigrants' rights, justice, and labor. In fact, it's these very concerns that have led to so much grassroots activity and opposition to Kavanaugh's nomination. The doubts surrounding Kavanaugh seem to have spilled over into his confirmation hearing. He's been grilled about his views on abortion and gun ownership. There's a lot of anger about the delayed access to documents relating to Kavanaugh's time in the White House. And several Democrats have submitted written questions asking about the $200,000 credit card debt that he racked up in 2017. To make matters worse, Kavanaugh now faces allegations of a high school sexual assault, a daily occurrence here in politics. Now, despite all these setbacks, the Democrats simply do not have the numbers in the Senate to block Kavanaugh's nomination, and we will most likely be seeing a Justice Brett Kavanaugh very, very soon. So, what will Kavanaugh's appointment mean for the Supreme Court? Well, he's an originalist with a unique philosophy about the role of the Constitution. His philosophy is based on the interplay between the Constitution, the states, and individual rights, so he'll probably be the fifth and final vote when it comes to decisive issues. There is something, however, that's still bugging this lobbyist. What is so special about Judge Brett Kavanaugh? More importantly, why does Donald Trump want him? This lobbyist suspects that it has something to do with the article that he wrote. The article that he wrote in 2009. An article where he argued that sitting presidents should be immune from prosecution. That's quite convenient for a president who faces prosecution for election meddling. Now, firstly, there's the obvious problem of contradiction. Call me pedantic, but isn't Kavanaugh the same person that assisted with the successful prosecution and impeachment of sitting President Bill Clinton? He's a bloody hypocrite, that's what he is. And now here he is, taking a U-turn. As Margaret Thatcher once said, U-turn if you want to. U-turn, Brett Kavanaugh, if you want to. Putting aside the obvious discrepancy and hypocrisy, Kavanaugh's nomination says a lot about the United States Constitution. Or more specifically, the failings of the United States Constitution. It's baffling just how little separations of power there is in the US. They say that no one's above the law, but clearly that's absolute balderdash under the United States Constitution. The President appoints the head of the FBI, the CIA, the Attorney General, and by the looks of things, the Supreme Court's justices. Kavanaugh's nomination is just the latest example of judicial overreach, and while he may be qualified, his nomination isn't based on merit. Ladies and gentlemen, his nomination is based on party bias. Okay, I understand that all of this is okay for the American people because the Constitution says so. However, we are the lobbyists, all about reason and sound debate. Doing something because the Constitution says so is not a winning democratic argument. It's a ripcord, an intellectual equivalent of a yellow pants pissing wimp cowering behind mommy's back. The American Constitution is an expired piece of literature, and it is in desperate need of reform. I'm going to calm down now, and leave you with just one thought. For all the great things he's accomplished, could it be that President Trump's legacy is that he finally reveals just how flawed, how broken the great American Constitution is? This lobbyist thinks yes. Thank you for listening. I am not going to apologize for any offense caused. I meant every word, but we have come to the end of yet another exciting and exhilarating podcast. If you haven't already, subscribe. Leave us 5 stars. I'm Kafuro Pata, your gracious host, your gracious lobbyist. And from me, and from everyone on the team, have a lovely week.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that the flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? For the land of the free and the home of the
Shut up!